Okay, so we started with financial statement analysis and we discussed that in order for you to perform financial statement analysis, you need some information. And a key source of that information is financial statement. So we discussed that what are the financial statement mechanics, how are they prepared. And when we discussed that there are business activities which includes operational activities, financing activities and investing activities. Based on those activities you perform, you record them in primary books. After recording them in primary books, you make journal. After journal, you make T accounts. After T accounts, you make trial balance. And after trial balance, you make financial statement. This is how it flows. Now the question is that when you record them in journal, how do you know if something has to be debited or credited? There are some basic principles that we discuss. But then there can be some even granular concepts as well. Like for example, how do you decide whether a revenue has been earned or not? If a revenue is earned or unearned. If I have sold something, if I have done a contract for selling something, is it a revenue? It is a revenue. Why? Because I have done a contract to sell something. But on the other hand, it might not be a revenue. Why not a revenue? Because I haven't yet made the sale. So how do you decide what should be recorded and how should be recorded? Or what is the amount that should be recorded as expense, as income, as asset, as liability, or whatsoever? So how do you decide that? For you to decide that, you follow some standards, reporting standard, because you cannot select some or take a decision on your own. All the companies need to, for the purpose of consistency, all the companies need to have same methods or methodologies to prepare accounts or record accounting statement. And who tells you standards or reporting standards tell you that how to record something or how to actually do the accounting? Any problem so far? So these reporting standards will tell you how to prepare accounts or how to record any transaction. Now the question is, where do these reporting standards come from? So there are accounting standard setting bodies which provide these reporting standards. There are some bodies in the around the world which provide these standards. They are accounting standard setting bodies. What are these standard setting bodies? So what are these standard setting bodies? So there are many or multiple standard setting bodies around the world in different countries. But two of the key standard setting bodies or major standard setting bodies are IASB and FASB. IASB is International Accounting Standards Board and FASB is Federal Accounting Standards Board. IASB is generally followed globally or internationally. FASB is followed in US. So this is a US based body, FASB. Any problem so far? So this is a body which gives you a standard. So that means this will be some organization which is coming up with a standard and giving you standard. What are those standards cost? So the standards which are given by IASB are known as IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards. These are the standards which are given by IASB. So IASB is the standard setting body and IFRS is are the standards or the rules. And the standards given by FASB are known as US GAAP, which is US generally accepted accounting principles. Generally accepted accounting principles. When I say US GAAP, it means I am specifically talking about FASB's standards. If I just say generally accepted accounting principles, that means I am either talking about IFRS or US GAAP. Because generally accepted principles is the general term. It means accepted accounting principle. So any problem so far? Okay, so these are kind of institutions. These are, you can say, educational kind of you can say similar to educational institutions which are doing research and which are giving you the standards or telling you the standards. Who will follow these standards? Corporations or businesses. Now a corporation may follow a standard or may not follow a standard. Correct? So maybe some corporations follow it, some other corporations do not follow it. If they do not, then there will be discrepancy in account. An investor wouldn't be able to use that information or investor wouldn't find that comparable. or maybe they do some manipulation, sometimes use FIRS for something, use US GAAP. So that means there needs to be a body, there needs to be an organization which controls their application of accounting standards, and which ensures that the corporations or businesses are following the standards correctly. So that means there need to be some regulatory authority. Regulatory authority is not giving a standard. Regulatory authority is not the body which is giving a standard. Regulatory authority is that authority which is ensuring that you follow the accounting standards. These regulatory authorities are corporations are known as regulatory authorities. They will overlook the corporation and ensure that corporation is following the accounting standards. So this can include SEC, Security Exchange Commission. Security Exchange Commission is a regulatory authority. Any problem so far? Now there will be different regulatory authorities around the world. There is a group of some of these regulatory authorities which is known as IOSCO. I think International Organization of Security Commissions or something like that. IOSCO. This is a group of some of the major regulatory authorities around the world, from maybe UK, I think, and US and those. Any problem so far up till here? IOSC. SEC is US, SECP is Pakistan. Similarly, in UK you have a, so in every country you will have a regulatory authority which will ensure application of standards there. Yeah, so this is a group. They have formed a group. There are some regulatory authorities which have formed a group, and that is known as IOSCO. So you can find out members to the group easily. But this is a group of these a few exchange commission. Why have they formed a group, or what is their purpose to form this group? What is the objective of IOSCO? Objective is to protect investor, ensure market efficiency and transparency, and reduce systematic risk. By systematic risk means market risk. So generally, or if financial statements are reflecting the right position or right accounts, then investors would be taking decisions based on that, and so market risk or market volatility will remain be controlled. If let's say financial statements are manipulated, and due to being manipulated they are showing a very good picture, so investors will start buying stock and it will start going up, or market as a whole will start going up, because all the companies are reporting very good picture. Eventually, when this manipulation ends, or when someone finds out this manipulation, or eventually when due to this manipulation results start going down or starts moving towards normality, then you will find out that all these results were fake. So your market will immediately crash. That means market risk increases if the financial reporting is not being done in the right manner. So IOSCO is protect investors, ensure market efficiency and transparency, and reduce systematic risk. Remember these terms. If you are asked that which of the following is an objective of IOSCO, or if which of the following is not an objective of IOSCO, you should be able to answer that. Any problem so far? Okay, so talking a bit more about FASB and US GAAP. So remember some key differences between IASB and US GAAP, or sorry, FASB, and IFRS and US GAAP. IFRS takes principle based approach. They talk more about principle. So they give you a broader concept, and within that concept you have some flexibility. US GAAP takes rule based approach, and they are a bit more rigid compared to IFRS. This is a conceptual difference between these two. Apart from that, as we move on, we will continue to discuss different accounting treatments in IFRS and US GAAP, and you will have to remember those, because one of the key parts in FRA is to remember difference between IFRS and US GAAP, that what is treated how in IFRS and what is treated how in US GAAP. Because as an analyst, you should be able to compare US GAAP accounts with IFRS accounts, or convert US GAAP into IFRS accounts to be able to compare them with other countries. So that's why learning the differences between these two is very important. Any problem so far? So now the question is that, is it really good to have different bodies or different accounting standards around the world, or is it better to have one framework? So clearly it is better to have one framework. Why? Because then everything will be comparable, clarity will be higher, and so on. But if one framework is required, then why don't then what is being done for that? So what is being done to arrive at one framework, or what is being done to actually arrive at one framework or at a coherent framework between IFRS and US GAAP is that both the parties, IASB and FASB, are working to develop a coherent framework, or are working to converge their accounting standards, or are working to remove or reduce their accounting differences. So both these parties, IASB and FASB, are working to reduce differences among them by coming up with new and newer principles. But now the next question is that if they have been working so diligently to arrive at one framework, then why haven't they actually arrived at one framework? Because there are challenges to it and it is difficult, or convergence is difficult. Why difficult? Because first of all, there are conceptual differences. There can be two ways of looking at the same thing. So maybe some believe that this is the correct way and some believe the other is correct way. Secondly, already companies around the world are following these standards. So it will be very difficult for them to change. And if standards are significantly changed at once or suddenly, then all the financial reports will become irrelevant. Investors will go into confusion, analysts will go into confusion, and companies themselves will go into confusion. Secondly, changing the accounting standards can change the performance and position, financial performance and position of the company. So that's why companies do not want that to happen, and so they give a pushback to the convergence. And lastly, all the systems will need to be changed, all the policies, all the restatements will need to be done. So this will be a massive exercise. So that's why developing a single coherent framework is a challenge and is not easy. But work is being done on that, and over time these two have converged. And with the efforts of IASB and FASB, they will continue to converge going forward. IFRS is globally followed. US GAAP is only followed in US. And even those companies which are following US GAAP in US, they report their earnings in both US GAAP and IFRS for them to be comparable. So IFRS we have discussed, US GAAP we have discussed, FASB we have discussed, regulatory authorities we discussed, SEC in, for example, US, FSA in UK, Financial Services Authority, IOSCO we have discussed, objectives we have discussed for IOSCO. Moving on, once you have an idea about IASB, FASB, IFRS and US GAAP, how do they actually prepare financial statement, or what are their requirement, or what is their framework to prepare financial statement? So this topic of this reading discusses IFRS, framework of preparation and presentation of financial statement. So what is the framework? So it provides this framework in which it says that first you have an objective. What is the objective that we discussed at very start? Objective of a good financial statement is to enable decision making. If any financial statement enables decision making or makes it easier to make a decision, that is a good financial statement or a high quality financial statement. So objective is to enable decision making about resources to the about providing resources to the entity, for example providing equity, providing debt, or whatever. Now for this objective to be achieved, financial reports need to be of high quality. So what are the characteristics that they should have? So qualitative characteristics are relevance, faithful representation, comparability, verifiability, timeliness and understandability. Relevance means that they should be relevant, or information provided should be relevant to the decision being made. You should provide all that relevant information which is useful to make a decision. For example, as an investor, I would want to know the sales growth. Sales, so I should know the sales. I would want to know the income, so I should know the income. I would want to know what are the expenses leading to this income. I should know the expense. So all those details which are relevant should be provided. Faithful representation, that data should be accurate, information should be accurate, there shouldn't be any manipulation. Comparability, it should be comparable to other so when we say comparability, there are two types of comparability. It should be comparable with its own accounts for the past periods. That is, if I am comparing 2018 with 2016, I won't be able to compare it if both are prepared using different methodologies or formats. So they should be comparable, and secondly, one company's account should be comparable with another company's accounts. Verifiable, that is, data should be verifiable or verified. Timeliness, now timeliness is again a difficult concept, and even verifiability is a difficult concept. So being verifiable means that you should provide supporting, or the information should be able to, investor or decision maker should be able to verify it, or enough information should be provided. If you go into detailed verification, that will take a lot of time. So that means if you focus more on verifiability, timeliness can be compromised. You may end up providing results late. Or if you focus more on timeliness, maybe verifiability is compromised. So there is an opportunity cost of these two. So you have to find some midway in these two, that is verifiability and timeliness. Understandability, they should be understandable by the user. So these are qualitative characteristics. Once you have ensured these characteristics, then what do you report? You report performance and you report position. But for performance, we discussed already income, expense, capital maintenance adjustment means depreciation, and past cash flows. Financial position, asset, liability, and equity. That is balance sheet. Okay, so moving on, then you have, once you have reported it, then throughout this reporting, you will have some constraint. Like for example, we discussed verifiability and timeliness. This is a constraint. You have to perform a cost benefit analysis, that how much should your focus be on verifiability, how much should it be on timeliness, and you should ensure the best possible outcome within the modest time limits that you have set. Underlying assumption for all of these reporting would be accrual basis that we just discussed. That is, a revenue for the period should be recorded in that period. Expense for the period should be recorded in that period. You should not record the future expense in current period. You should not record the current expense in future period. So it should be accrual basis. And going concern. Going concern means that a company or the business is expected to run the operations in future for an indefinite period of time. It does not have a life, or it has unlimited life for foreseeable future. So in foreseeable future, business will continue to do conduct operations. So these are the characteristics of IFRS reporting framework. This is how IFRS requires reporting to be done, or these are the items that IFRS want reporters or the reporting companies to follow. Moving on, what is IASB? IASB is International Accounting Standard Boards. What is it? This is the body which provides IFRS. So IASB also have some general, in addition to framework that it provides, it also has some general requirement for financial statement. So what are the requirement? So as per IASB, required financial statements are a statement of financial position, that is balance sheet, statement of comprehensive income. When we say comprehensive income, we mean income statement as well as other comprehensive income. So these two combined become comprehensive income. Remember, comprehensive income does not mean other comprehensive income. It means income statement plus other comprehensive income. A statement of changes in equity that we just discussed, statement of cash flows, and in addition you should provide notes summarizing accounting policies, and in certain cases a statement of financial position from earliest comparative period. And usually this is required in times of restatement. That is, if a restatement is being done, if there was an error which is being corrected, then usually previous statement or the statement from the earliest period are also required. So these are required financial statements. What are the general features? Fair presentation, going concern, accrual basis, already we have discussed this. Materiality and aggregation. It means if there are any immaterial expenses, they should be clubbed together and shown as one line item. If there is something material, it should be shown as separate. So for example, if I have a stationery expense, if I have electricity expense, if I have gas expense, if I have water expense. So for a big company, a large company, all these items would be very small or immaterial. So they can be clubbed and reported as maybe administrative utility expenses or whatever. On the other hand, if you have a material expense, that is if you have a big expense, for example, if you have paid a big amount, let's say cost of goods sold or whatever, if there is something material happening, then that material expense should be recorded separately. Or for example, if you have asset, you may have many machines, 50 machines, 60 machines, 10 machines. So you can club them up and then show them as property, plant and equipment. But if there is a big or material asset within these, then that should be reported separately. No offsetting, that is you cannot offset a revenue with expense or a asset with liability. So if you have an asset and a liability, you should record both separately, asset and liability. You cannot knock them off and remove them. Frequency of reporting, how frequently do you have to report it? Comparative information, consistency of presentation. If it is not consistent, then investor will not be able to, or analyst will not be able to use it. There will be problem in understanding the format. If you are giving a different format every month or every year or every quarter, it will have decision makers would have difficulty using it. Structure, classified balance sheet. What is a classified balance sheet? So what is balance sheet? In balance sheet, you list down all the assets, liabilities and equity. This is a balance sheet. Asset equals liability plus equity. Within asset, if you show assets separately, that is current and non-current separately, that balance sheet is known as classified balance sheet. Minimum specified information on face, minimum specified note disclosures and comparative information. So these are general features and structure and requirements. So yes. What does it mean by minimum? Minimum means that what is required, the minimum information which is required to make decision. So at least that amount of information should be provided. Decision for investor. For investor, for any user, for investor, for analyst, for lender, for borrower, for anyone, any user. Okay, so when we discussed IFRS and US GAAP differences, we discussed that IFRS is a principle based approach and US GAAP is a rule based approach. There is some flexibility in IFRS, there is more rigidity in US GAAP. And as we move forward, in addition to these, you should know the exact differences as well. So as we move forward in upcoming readings, we will be discussing the exact treatment, that what is treated how in which of these, and you should remember that as well. For now, there is just an introduction to build the context. So some of the differences are that FASB, these are again conceptual differences only, not treatment actually. FASB framework includes three elements relating to financial performance in addition to revenue and expenses. So in ISB, when we are discussing ISB, they were talking about revenue and expense. And they were classifying everything as revenue or expense. When you read through FASB would talk about these, would use terms revenue, expense, and will also use terms such as gains, losses, and comprehensive income. Or in other words, when we talk about financial performance in ISB, financial performance in ISB generally about P&L or income statement. So income statement in IASB includes only revenues and expenses. But when FASB is talking about performance, it means it would be talking about P&L as well as other comprehensive income as well as other gains and losses. Financial position, FASB framework define asset as a future economic benefit, and IASB defines it as a resource from which future economic benefit will come. So again, only the definitional or conceptual differences. So remember these, so that if you are asked how which one of the following is a definition of asset under IASB, you should select that it is a resource from which future economic benefit flows to organization. If you are asked which one of the following is a definition under FASB, you would say a future economic benefit. Recognition of elements. FASB framework does not discuss the term probable. So usually in FASB framework you wouldn't see this probable term being used, while in IASB you will see this term being used, probable. And again, because it is more rigid and it is more flexible, measurement.
Probable as in things like option.
Just in definition. So for example, when ISB talk about revenue recognition, it would say that if it is probable that this will happen, then it should be recognized. FASB would be more rigid, that if this happens, do this. If this happens, do that. So ISB would provide some flexibility, that is, it uses the terms such as probable. Measurement of elements. Measurement attributes, historic cost, current cost, settlement value, current value are broadly consistent. So these are broadly consistent among both the method. So this is just an introduction. When we go ahead and when we go on to next readings, we will get into the details of what is the actual difference or how is accounting actually done between these two. What are the characteristics of an effective financial reporting framework? Again, remember these. This is very important to remember the names. If you are asked which one of the following is a characteristic, or if you are asked which one of the following is not a characteristic, you should be able to identify it. So memorize these names: transparency, comprehensiveness, and consistency. Transparency means that you are disclosing all the information which is required and you are disclosing it fairly. Comprehensiveness means that framework is based on principles that are universal enough to provide guidance. So for example, which are universal enough means that which are applied widely or which are applied in different scenarios or can be applied in different scenarios. Consistency means that it should ensure reasonable consistency across companies and time periods. That is, a company which is reporting financial statement every year, it should be reporting in the consistent manner, using the consistent estimates, using the consistent format. And if one company is being compared to other, both of them should be comparable with respect. So both of them should have consistent accounting standards and format so that they are comparable. So these are three key qualities. Remember these three characteristics of effective financial reporting framework: transparency, comprehensiveness, and consistency. This we discussed at the start, that what are the barriers to single coherent framework. One of this is valuation. So there can be various ways of measuring something. You can measure at historic cost, you can measure at current cost, you can measure at fair value, you can measure at realizable value. So just designating one way or one method of valuation for everything across industries, across products, everything wouldn't be correct. So that's why you cannot have coherent framework. Why? Because one framework or one methodology cannot be applied throughout. There needs to be some deviation with respect to valuation. Second is respect to standard setting approach. So standard setting approach can either be principle based, rule based, or a combination of principle and rule. IFRS uses principle based approach, US GAAP uses rule based approach. So US GAAP thinks rule based is better, ISB thinks principle based is better, or some other would think that combination of both should be used. So arriving at or just deciding to use one approach is difficult. Why? Because some parties believe that the principle is a better approach. Some would believe that rule based approach is better. So what do you do? That is a difficult decision to take. Then measurement. The balance sheet represents element at a point in time, whereas income statement reflects changes during a period of time. Income statement is for a period, balance sheet as at a date. But all these statements are interrelated. So if anything changes on balance sheet, if I change any accounting standard with respect to balance sheet, it will not only impact balance sheet, but it will also impact the performance of past whole year, that is income statement. So that means impact of changing accounting standard would not only go on to that particular head, but it would go to all the financial statements and would change even the historical and can change even the historical statements. So that's why it is difficult to come up with a change. Due to these reasons, it is difficult, or these are the barriers to having a single coherent framework, that is having one state framework for everything. So this is about the reading on financial reporting standards. Let's take a break before we go ahead.